Good morning. It's Saturday, June 25th, and the Supreme Court the other day essentially voted to continue the gun violence in this country. They voted to overturn a law that was written in New York. And the law was not designed to stop people from getting a gun. The law was designed to stop people from getting a concealed permit without proof that they were really in danger. So if you wanted to get a concealed handgun permit, you had to prove to the New York State that you were really in danger, that your life was in danger and you needed this gun for protection. The law required that the person buying the gun could prove that they needed the gun for self. And two people who applied for gun permits under the law were rejected because they could not prove to the satisfaction of New York that they really needed those guns for defensive purposes. So the court said that the law violated the Second Amendment. And basically, that meant that people in New York could now carry a concealed firearm without a license to do so. So we are going to do background checks, and we are going to do many things that they say will prevent violence in the future, or they hope that that will cut down the purchase of so many guns. But if we, and by we I'm talking about the Supreme Court, if we continue this bogus interpretation of the Second Amendment, which was written 250 years ago, and talked about a well-regulated militia, and now we have turned that into anybody can have a gun. This ruling by the Supreme Court is the biggest expansion of gun rights in more than a decade. And while New York is affected, there are 8 other states and the District of Columbia that have restrictive concealed carry permits in ways that are similar to what New York wanted. Now, we have opened the doors for these other 8 states and the District of Columbia to sue because they know that this court will set the people in those states free to conceal weapons. Is that what we want the Supreme Court to do? The Supreme Court has to adjudicate the law properly and think of the dangers of their decision. I did not realize this, but this law that they invalidated has been on the books since 1911. And Clarence Thomas wrote in his majority opinion, the New York law violated the Constitution's 14th Amendment, which says citizens have a right to equal protection under the law. And because this law prevents law-abiding citizens with ordinary self-defense needs from exercising their right to keep and bear arms, as authorized in the Second Amendment. Well, I think they have misconstrued the wording in the 14th Amendment. I think equal protection under the law does not mean you take the law into your own hands. It means that everybody is entitled to the same protection under the law. The law that's supposed to keep us safe. The law that is operated by police departments. The law that protects us because of our rights as citizens. It does not mean that we as individuals have equal rights and that we can all carry guns. Because carrying a gun is not necessarily an equal right, because I might be able to afford an AR-15 or a bazooka, and somebody else can't afford that. Therefore, the wealthy have an advantage, or the people who are willing to buy weapons like that have an advantage. So this equal defense under the law is being totally misconstrued. It's not individuals who have to provide themselves with equal defense. It's our governments which are supposed to supply equal defense for all of its citizens. They can't discriminate against any group that needs defending. So let's face it, this is a ridiculous ruling because many people will have an advantage if you leave them to protect themselves. if you allow them to get what they need to protect themselves, that is not equal defense under the law, because individuals will figure out a way to be better than the next guy. And this law says equal. So that means everybody who carries their own weapon has to carry a weapon that is the equal of everybody else's weapon. So they shouldn't carry any weapons. That would be equal. So the bottom line comes down to this. The Democrats were disappointed with this decision. Biden was disappointed with this decision. I'm disappointed with this decision, but there's nothing we can do about it. But when I listen further to the things that Thomas wrote, it makes me feel that the law, the Supreme Court, really doesn't understand the meanings of the words in the Constitution, that they have been misconstrued for 200 years. This case ended up in the Supreme Court after the New York Supreme Court ruled that neither man had shown proper cause to carry guns in public, because they failed to demonstrate that they had a special need for defense. And then a federal judge dismissed the case in the Court of Appeals. Then the Supreme Court got hold of the case. And Thomas, again, in his majority opinion, writes, New York's proper cause requirement, as it has been interpreted by the state courts, was inconsistent with the nation's history of firearm regulation. You are looking at this case and judging it against our history of firearm regulation. You are going to come to the wrong conclusion. It's time to review firearm regulation in the current situation. We can't allow our citizens to continue to get murdered via gun violence and stick to the old firearm regulations. There has to be a new view on these things, a new interpretation of what it means to own a gun and carry a gun in this country. So I leave you with that today. A mess, a Supreme Court which is leading us to self-destruction. I'll see you in the morning. Bye.